I started eating leftovers from pigs at the age of 12. My name is Victoria, and this is my story. A story I wish I would never tell anyone. But I can't keep hiding. Everyone needs to learn from my story. If anyone told me I would eat leftover food from pigs just to survive at the age of 12, I wouldn't believe it. But this was how I found myself in this situation. I was born into a very wealthy family. When I say wealthy, I mean very wealthy. My father was a very successful businessman. Even the government takes loans from my father's business. But sadly, my dad died. He died on his way to close a very big business deal. After my dad died, my mom was not the same anymore. She fell into a coma and died a few months after. I became an orphan. Clara, my auntie, and her husband took me in. As custom demands, I was too young to take over my father's business. A few months later, Clara showed me some documents. She said the banks have taken over my father's business because of unsettled loans and millions of dollars, and the government has seized his shares over unpaid taxes. But I was too young to understand. I didn't know how I should feel, since my aunt didn't appear to be bothered. But here's what I didn't know then. Here's what no 12-year-old should ever have to learn. Sometimes the people who promise to save you are the ones planning to destroy you. You know what's worse than being hated? Being fake loved. At least when someone hates you, you know where you stand. My aunt was a master of fake love. "Victoria, sweetheart, come help Auntie with these school uniforms," she'd coo, her voice dripping with honey whenever Uncle James was around. She'd ruffle my hair, pull me close, put on this whole performance of being the caring guardian. The moment his car pulled out of the driveway, the mask came off. "Get those dirty hands off my kitchen counter," she'd snap, the same mouth that had just been calling me sweetheart, now spitting venom. "Those dishes won't wash themselves." But the uniforms. God, the uniforms were the cruelest joke of all. She spent an entire afternoon measuring me, pinning fabric, acting like she was preparing me for school. "Stand still, Victoria. Education is important. Your uncle wants you to have the best." I was so excited. School meant escape. School meant other children. School meant hope. The uniform was beautiful. Navy blue with crisp white collar, perfectly pressed. She even bought me new shoes. "Now smile, baby girl," she said, positioning me by the window. Click. The camera captured my genuine happiness. Click. Another shot of me pretending to read. Click. Me with my school bag, grinning like school was starting tomorrow. "These pictures are for Uncle James," she explained. "He's so proud of you going to school." But Monday came, then Tuesday, then Wednesday. No school. Instead, I woke up at 5 a.m. to the sound of my cousins laughing, getting ready for their actual schools. My hands, raw from scrubbing floors the night before, would shake as I prepared their breakfast. "Victoria, my uniform needs washing." My cousin Sarah would yell, throwing her dirty clothes at my feet. The washing machine hummed in the background, but I wasn't allowed to touch it. "Hand wash only for you, dear," my aunt would whisper when the others weren't listening. "Machines are expensive. We can't waste electricity." My knuckles bled from scrubbing against the rough washboard. The soap burned my cracked skin. One evening, Uncle James called. I could hear his voice through the phone. "How's Victoria doing in school, honey?" "Oh, she's thriving," my aunt gushed, winking at me. "Top of her class. She's such a smart girl." I stood there, dish soap dripping from my hands, watching her lie with such ease it made my stomach turn. 3 months of this torture passed. Then one morning, my aunt sat me down with that familiar, fake sweet smile. "Victoria, darling, I have wonderful news." She placed her hand on mine, and I wanted to pull away but didn't dare. "I've found you a job, a real opportunity." My heart stopped. A job? But what about school? Her smile widened, but her eyes stayed cold. "There's no money for school right now, sweetheart. But this job, This job will help our family. And helping family is what good girls do, isn't it? But then, hope. Dangerous, beautiful hope crept into my chest. A job meant money. Money meant independence. Maybe I could save up for school fees. Maybe I could even start my own business like my father did. Maybe this was my chance to climb out of this nightmare. My heart started racing with possibilities. What kind of job, Auntie Clara? For the first time in months, I felt something other than despair. I felt excited. I should have known better. The woman my aunt handed me over to seemed like an angel. Her name was Tasha, and she had the warmest smile I'd seen since my parents died. When I walked into her house, the smell of fresh bread and chicken stew hit me like a warm hug. Real food. The kind my mother used to make. "You must be Victoria," she said, pulling me into her arms. "Look how thin you are, baby girl. We need to get some meat on those bones." That first meal. God, I almost cried. Tender chicken, rice with actual seasoning, vegetables that weren't wilted. I ate until my stomach hurt, and Tasha just smiled, piling more food on my plate. "Eat, child. Eat as much as you want." For 7 days, I lived like I was human again. Soft bed, warm baths, 3 meals a day. I'd sit by her window, watching children play outside, and for brief moments, I could pretend my parents were just in the next room. I could almost hear my father's laugh, smell my mother's perfume. "You remind me of my daughter," Tasha would say, brushing my hair. "So beautiful, so strong." I was starting to trust again, starting to hope. On the 8th day, Tasha sat me down with that same warm smile. "Victoria, sweetheart, it's time we talked about your job." My heart raced with excitement. "Yes, ma'am, I'm ready. It's simple work, really, just for a few days. And the pay." She leaned forward, her eyes sparkling. "Enough money to take care of yourself forever. Enough for school, for your own place, for everything you've ever dreamed of." My breath caught. What do I have to do? Tasha's smile never wavered. "You'll be eating with pigs, dear. From the same bowl. Same plate. It's just for a few days, and then you'll be wealthy beyond your wildest dreams." The room went silent. I stared at her, waiting for the punchline, waiting for her to say she was joking. She wasn't. I don't understand," I whispered. "It's performance art, honey. Rich people pay good money to watch. You just need to be a strong girl for a few days, and then..." She snapped her fingers. "Freedom. Is that what you do?" I asked, my voice barely audible. Tasha laughed, but it sounded different now. Colder. "Oh no, baby. I'm too old for that kind of work. But girls like you? Young, pretty, desperate? You're perfect for it." The word desperate hit me like a slap. "I can't do that," I said, standing up. "I won't." Her warm mask finally slipped. "Sit down, Victoria." "No, I want to go back to my aunt's house." The ride back to my aunt's house felt like a funeral march. Tasha dropped me off without a word, and I walked to the door with my heart pounding. My aunt opened it before I could knock. "Back so soon?" Her voice was ice. "Let me guess. Too good for honest work?" "Auntie Clara, I can't eat with pigs. Please, there has to be another way." "Another way?" She laughed bitterly. "Tasha has helped dozens of girls your age. They're all living comfortable lives now because they weren't too proud to do what needed to be done. But it's not human." "Human?" Her eyes flashed with rage. "You think you deserve to be treated like a human when you contribute nothing to this household? When you eat my food, sleep under my roof, and give nothing back?" Before I could respond, she grabbed my small bag and threw it at my feet. "If you can't be useful, Victoria, then you can't stay here. Find somewhere else to sleep tonight." The door slammed in my face. I stood there in the growing darkness, a 13-year-old girl with nothing but the clothes on my back and a bag with 2 dresses inside. But something strange happened in that moment. Instead of collapsing, instead of begging, I felt something harden inside my chest. Fine. If no one would save me, I'd save myself. I picked up my bag, straightened my shoulders, and walked into the night. I had no idea where I was going, but I knew one thing for certain. I would survive this. I had to. The streets at night are a different kind of hell. Every shadow could hide danger. Every footstep behind me made my heart race. Every car that slowed down made me want to disappear into the ground. Where do you sleep when you have nowhere to go? When you're 13 and the world has decided you don't matter? I walked for hours, my bag getting heavier with each step. My mind kept replaying the past week like a cruel joke. 7 days ago, I was eating chicken stew and sleeping in a warm bed. 7 days ago, I thought Tasha was my salvation. Now I was nobody. Nothing. Was my aunt really my father's sister? Could blood family really throw away blood like I was garbage? My father used to say family was everything. But maybe I had no real family left. That's when I found the bridge. The smell hit me first. Unwashed bodies, damp concrete, desperation. In the darkness under the overpass, I could make out shapes. People. Lots of them. All sleeping on cardboard, newspapers, whatever they could find. I found an empty corner and sat down, clutching my bag like it was my lifeline. First night, I jumped. A girl, maybe 16, was looking at me. Even in the dim light, I could see she was too thin, her clothes too big. "I'm Vivian," she said softly. "And you look terrified." I don't know what I'm doing," I whispered. Vivian scooted closer. "None of us do, honey. What's your name?" "Victoria." "Well, Victoria, welcome to rock bottom." She said it with such dark humor that I almost smiled. Almost. "How long have you been?" "Homeless?" 3 weeks. She pulled a thin blanket around both of us. "My stepfather. Let's just say some homes are more dangerous than the streets." I felt her shiver beside me. At least out here, the monsters are strangers. The next morning, my stomach felt like it was eating itself. I'd never been this hungry in my life. "Vivian, how do you eat?" She stretched, her joints cracking. "Restaurants. Most of them throw away perfectly good food every night. If you're polite, if you don't look too desperate, sometimes they'll give you the leftovers." Hope flickered in my chest. "Really? We'll go when they start closing. Around 8 p.m. But we need to hurry. Visit as many as possible before the food gets thrown away." That evening, we walked from restaurant to restaurant. Vivian knew exactly which back doors to approach, which managers were kind. But something was wrong. "Sorry, girls," the first manager said, not meeting our eyes. "We sell our leftovers to pet owners now. Nothing to spare." The second restaurant. "Pet food suppliers pick up our scraps. Can't help you." The third. "Health regulations. We can't give food to, well, you understand." By the 8th restaurant, I realized the truth. It wasn't about pig farmers or pet food. It was about me. These places used to help Vivian, but now there were 2 of us. 2 mouths to feed instead of 1. We finally got small portions from 2 places. Stale bread, some leftover rice, a half-eaten sandwich, barely enough for 1 person, let alone 2. "I'm sorry," I whispered as we sat under the bridge, dividing the meager food. "This is my fault. They used to give you more." Vivian shook her head, but I could see the hunger in her eyes. "It's not your fault, Victoria. The world it doesn't have room for people like us." As I chewed the stale bread, a horrible thought crept into my mind. Here I was, begging for leftovers that were meant for dogs and pets. Scraps that weren't even good enough for animals were what I was fighting for. If I was already eating what dogs eat, if this was my life now, maybe Tasha was right. Maybe a few days of eating with pigs was better than months of begging for pig scraps. At least with Tasha, there was an end. At least there was money at the finish line. I stared at the moldy bread in my hands and felt something inside me break. Maybe it was time to go back, Sometimes surrender feels like victory. Sometimes giving up is the only way to survive. I stood outside my aunt's house at dawn, my pride in tatters. Every part of me screamed that this was wrong, but my empty stomach screamed louder. When she opened the door, her smile was triumphant. She'd been waiting for this moment. "Ready to be useful now?" she asked, not even pretending to care about where I'd slept. I nodded, unable to speak. Back at Tasha's house, the warm woman who'd fed me so well was gone. This Tasha was all business. "I knew you'd come back," she said, circling me like a predator. "You're a strong girl, Victoria, stronger than most." "I'm hungry," I whispered, hoping for even a piece of bread. "No food," she said coldly. "The organizer needs to see your desperation. He needs to know you're ready to do anything." My heart sank, but I'd already crossed the line. There was no going back now. The mansion was like something from my old life. Tall gates, security guards, manicured lawns, but I wasn't walking through the front door as Daddy's little princess anymore. I was being delivered like cargo. The organizer was a heavyset man with cold eyes that looked right through me. He examined me like I was livestock. "She looks ready," he told Tasha, nodding approvingly at my hollow cheeks and trembling hands. "I can see the hunger." "Good. Victoria always delivers what she promises," Tasha replied, and I realized she'd never asked me to promise anything. They made me wait. 4 more hours in a small room with nothing but a chair and my growing desperation. My stomach had stopped growling and started cramping. My vision blurred at the edges. By the time they came for me, I would have done anything. "It's time," a guard said, and I actually felt relief. The room had 2 doors and smelled like animals and fresh food. Real food. The kind that made my mouth water despite everything. Then I heard them, the grunting, snorting sounds that made my skin crawl. The second door opened, and 3 pigs rushed in, heading straight for the metal troughs filled with what looked like a feast. Rice, vegetables, meat. Better food than I'd seen in weeks. "Go on," someone said from behind a camera I hadn't noticed. "Don't let them eat it all." I dropped to my knees. The pigs didn't care that I was human. They pushed against me, their rough skin scraping mine as we fought for the same bowl. Their snouts knocked my face as I tried to eat. I felt their saliva mixing with the food, their breath hot against my cheek. But God help me, it tasted incredible. I ate like an animal because I had to compete with animals. My knees scraped against the concrete floor. The pig's hooves stepped on my hands, leaving small cuts and bruises. But I kept eating, tears streaming down my face, because this was survival. I remembered the story of the prodigal son, how he longed to eat with the pigs before he returned to his father's house. But that son had a father to return to. That son had hope. I had no father. No home, just this moment, this horrible, necessary moment. I thought it was over when my stomach felt half full. I thought I could finally stop, finally stand up and reclaim some dignity. Then I heard the voice from the shadows. "Don't worry, dinner will be ready soon. I know they're not satisfied yet." My blood froze. This wasn't the end. This was just the beginning. Hours later, when Tasha finally came to collect me, my body ached and my soul felt hollow. But I'd done it. I'd earned the money. "Your payment has been processed," the organizer told Tasha as we walked to the car. "Your guardian's account has been credited." Guardian? I thought he meant Tasha, but when we reached the car, I saw a familiar figure in the back seat, counting bills with a satisfied smile. My aunt. "Hello, Victoria," she said sweetly. "Thank you for being such a good girl. This money will really help our family." The world tilted. She was my guardian. She'd been paid. All of it. But the money was for me," I whispered. Tasha laughed. "Child, you're a minor. All earnings go to your legal guardian." As I stared at my aunt's triumphant face, one question burned in my mind. How could I ever get what was rightfully mine when the very system meant to protect me was designed to betray me? Victoria, you have done so well. My aunt beamed as I slumped into the car seat, my body still aching from what I'd just endured. I'm so proud of you. Proud? After what she'd just watched me do? It's just part of life, sweetheart, she continued, patting my shoulder like I was a pet. Many people go through worse situations to make money. Thankfully, yours was just for a few days. I wanted to scream, to ask her how she could call that part of life, but exhaustion had stolen my voice. We've made all the arrangements for your school, she said, her tone suddenly businesslike. I'm going to open a child support account in your name so we can deposit all your money safely. How much did I make? I whispered. She exchanged a look with Tasha. Don't worry about numbers, dear. Just know it's enough for the best education money can buy. My heart fluttered despite everything. The best education? Maybe this nightmare had a purpose after all. But Victoria, her voice turned serious, you must never tell anyone how you made this money. Promise me. I nodded, too tired to argue. The next few weeks felt like a dream. I was enrolled in St. Catherine's Academy, a school with actual uniforms, real textbooks, and teachers who smiled when they saw me. My aunt was different, kinder. She made my favorite meals, bought me school supplies, even let me use the washing machine. We'll go to the bank next week to open your account, she promised. All your money will be safe there, earning interest. Maybe I'd been wrong about her. Maybe she really was trying to take care of me now that I'd proven I could contribute. I woke up to screaming. My aunt was on the phone, sobbing hysterically. All of it! They took everything! I ran downstairs, my heart pounding. Auntie Clara, what's wrong? Internet fraudsters! She wailed, collapsing into a chair. They hacked into my bank account and stole all your money! Every single penny! The world went silent. But we hadn't put it in my account yet, I said slowly. I was keeping it safe in mine until we could get yours set up, she explained, tears streaming down her face. Now it's all gone. My mind raced with questions I couldn't voice. Will I continue school now that the money is gone? Will her kindness disappear with the money? Why does every penny that belongs to me somehow vanish when she's in charge of it? Nan, why isn't she doing anything about these fraudsters? Daddy always said fraudsters were criminals. Shouldn't we call the police? But I was 13, and she was my guardian, and questioning adults wasn't something I'd been taught to do. Within weeks, I had my answers. Victoria, sweetheart, my aunt said one morning, her fake sweetness returning. The money we're using for your school fees is almost finished. My stomach dropped. What does that mean? Well, we might have to take you out of St. Catherine's. Unless, she paused dramatically, unless you're willing to help the family again. The room felt like it was spinning. You mean the pig place? I whispered. It's just temporary, dear. And this time, we'll be smarter. We'll open your bank account first, make sure everything goes directly to you. I stared at her, seeing the truth for the first time. The kindness, the school, the promises. It was all just bait to get me back to that horrible place. But I needed school. I needed a roof over my head. And most of all, I couldn't survive another night under that bridge. Okay, I heard myself say. But this time, I want my own bank account first. I want to see the account details myself. She smiled that triumphant smile again. Of course, darling. We'll go to the bank tomorrow. As she walked away, humming happily, a plan began forming in my mind. This time would be different. This time, I'd memorize every detail of my account. I'd make sure the money went directly to me, not through her hands. And then I'd get myself and Vivian a place to stay, far away from this house of lies. If my aunt couldn't protect what belonged to me, then I'd have to protect it myself. The little girl who'd once trusted adults to take care of her was gone. In her place was someone harder, smarter, and determined to never be anyone's victim again. I just had to survive one more trip to hell first. Back so soon, my strong girl? Tasha's smile was different this time. Hungrier, more calculating. I told you that you were special. This time, you're going to make even more money. I nodded, clutching my new bank account details like a lifeline. This time would be different. This time, I'd control my own money. The fraudsters took everything, my aunt explained to Tasha. Poor Victoria needs to start over. The way they looked at each other made my skin crawl, like they were sharing a private joke I wasn't supposed to understand. At the mansion, the same cold-eyed manager greeted us, but this time his words sent chills down my spine. Perfect timing. We need 3 days to prepare her for the presentation. Presentation? I asked, my voice smaller than I intended. Tasha's hand tightened on my shoulder. Just a special performance, darling. Nothing you haven't done before. But I had only eaten with pigs before. What kind of presentation required 3 days of preparation? The maid who led me to my room looked at me with pity that made my blood freeze. Why did you come back, child? She whispered, glancing around nervously. Wasn't the first payment enough? Fraudsters stole it, I replied automatically. She shook her head sadly. This business, it's not what you think. The pig eating is just the beginning. Just a way to break you down. My heart hammered against my ribs. What do you mean? Some children who come here, they never leave. Body parts, rituals, trafficking. The pigs are just a smokescreen. In the holding room, I met them. Other children, all thin, all terrified, all waiting for their presentations. A boy named Marcus, maybe 15, had been here for months. They start with the pig thing to see how far you'll go, he whispered. Then they test you further. Some kids don't survive the testing. A girl named Sarah, younger than me, rocked back and forth. My presentation is tomorrow. They said, if I do well, I can go home. But Marcus says nobody goes home. I wanted to vomit. What had I walked back into? For 30 hours they gave us nothing, not a drop of water, not a crumb of bread. My body was so weak, I could barely stand when they finally came for us. It makes the performance more authentic, a guard explained with a cruel laugh. The presentation hall was filled with people who looked like they belonged in nightmares. Men and women with cameras worth more than my father's cars, all waiting to capture our humiliation. This time, there were 6 pigs. 6 children. And the food. The food was scattered across a muddy floor, mixed with things I didn't want to identify. The audience cheered as we crawled on our bellies, fighting animals for scraps. They laughed when Sarah cried. They applauded when Marcus collapsed from exhaustion. I realized then that these videos would be sold. Somewhere in the world, people paid money to watch children degrade themselves for survival. After it was over, as Tasha led me away, the manager grabbed her arm. Take care of her, he said, his eyes boring into mine. She knows too much now. Make sure she understands her obligations. Tasha nodded grimly. I understand. I want the money in my account this time, I insisted as we walked to the car. Of course, dear, Tasha agreed quickly, too quickly. You've earned that right. When I gave her my account details, she didn't even argue. That should have made me happy. Instead, it terrified me. Outside the car, I could hear my Aunt Clara's voice rising in anger. You can't just change the arrangement, Tasha. That money belongs to me as her guardian. You're too greedy, Clara, Tasha snapped back. You took every penny from her first job, and now you want this too? The girl isn't stupid. She's starting to figure things out. I pressed my ear to the car window, my heart pounding. If you try this again, I won't bring Victoria back, Clara threatened. That's when Tasha said the words that shattered my world. Don't threaten me, Clara. I know exactly how you've been stealing from this girl. The same way you stole her father's property. Should I tell Victoria the truth about what really happened to her inheritance? About how there were never any debts? About how you and your husband forged those documents? The world stopped spinning. My father's business. The millions the government supposedly seized. The debts that never existed. All lies. All stolen, and my aunt, my blood, my family, had been the thief all along. Money has a way of making enemies become partners. Despite their heated argument, Tasha and Clara found their way back to each other's side. They had too much to lose to let their greed destroy everything. "Fine," Clara said through gritted teeth as we drove home. "The money stays in Victoria's account." She turned to me with that familiar fake smile. "You've done so well, sweetheart. This money will pay for your education. No more dropping out of school." I nodded and smiled back, but inside, everything had changed. I could see through her lies now, see the calculation behind every kind word. But I had to play along, just long enough to get away from both of them. That afternoon, I slipped out of the house and found Vivian at our usual restaurant spot. When I told her everything, the pig business, the organ harvesting, Clara's theft of my inheritance, her face went pale. "Victoria, we have to get you away from these people," she whispered, gripping my hands. "They're monsters." "I have some money now," I said, showing her my bank details. Not enough for much, but maybe enough to disappear. Within hours, we were at the bank. Vivian helped me withdraw what we could, enough for a small place on the outskirts of town, far from Clara and Tasha's reach. For 3 days, we lived like normal people. We cooked meals, talked about our futures, dreamed of the businesses we'd start. It felt like the beginning of everything I'd been fighting for. But Clara noticed my absence quickly. "You kidnapped her," she screamed at Tasha over the phone. I could tell that was how the conversation went. "I didn't take her," Tasha replied calmly. "But I know where she is. My people have been watching her every move." "She's planning to go to the authorities," Tasha continued. "She knows about the documents, Clara. She knows you stole everything from her father." "Then you must have had her long ago," Clara said. "Please handle it," Clara snapped, "before she destroys us all." The next morning, as Vivian and I walked toward the police station, 3 men stepped out of a black car. "Victoria," the tallest one said, his voice eerily calm, "we need you to come with us. With all the money you were paid, should not be having a business with the police station," he said. "It is against the pig business policy for any of our beneficiaries to go to the police authority," he shouted, but only loud enough for me and Vivian to hear. "How did you know we'd be here?" I asked, my voice shaking. He smiled coldly. "We eavesdropped on your windows at night. We heard all your plans. Did you really think Tasha wouldn't be monitoring your account activity? Every withdrawal, every location. We've been watching." Vivian grabbed my hand. "Run, Victoria!" But there was nowhere to go. They brought us back to Tasha's house, where Clara was waiting with a triumphant smirk. "So you've been the one putting thoughts in her head all this while," Clara snarled at Vivian. Tasha circled us like a predator, her warm mask completely gone. "Victoria, in your attempt to report our business, you've brought us another product. How thoughtful." The word product made my stomach turn. Vivian wasn't my friend to them. She was merchandise. "2 children for the price of 1, Tasha continued. "The organizers will be pleased." At the pig house, they threw us into separate rooms. The walls were thick, but I could hear Vivian screaming as they prepared her for her first pig presentation. They tortured us, not with knives or fire, but with starvation, fear, and the constant threat of what was coming next. I tried to escape once, Marcus whispered to me through the bars. His eyes were hollow, defeated. "Made it all the way to the next town before they found me. There's no escape once you know their secrets, Victoria. They own the police, the judges, everyone who matters." But I refused to let his despair become mine. "My parents didn't die so I could give up," I whispered back. "They didn't build an empire so Clara could steal it all. I'm going to expose this business, Marcus, and I'm going to get back every penny they stole from me." He looked at me like I was already dead. "Victoria, some battles can't be won." As I sat in that cold, dark room, listening to the sounds of other children suffering, I made a promise to myself and to my parents' memory. I would find a way out. I would save Vivian. I would destroy the people who had destroyed so many innocent lives. And I would make Clara pay for every lie, every stolen dollar, every moment of pain she had caused. The little girl who once ate scraps under a bridge was gone. In her place was someone harder, smarter, and absolutely determined to burn their whole operation to the ground. They had made one crucial mistake. They had underestimated just how much fight was left in me.